Hey, my name is Becca Counts, and today I'm going to be discussing the piece Old Companions by John Frederick Peto. The piece can be found at the Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville, Arkansas. John F. Peto was an American artist. Born in 1854 in the city of Philadelphia, Peto was the first of 5 children. He was the child of Catherine Marion Ham and Thomas Hope Peto. However, most of his childhood was spent living with his grandparents. Family was said to be an eccentric aspect of Peto's life, and perhaps this is why it is believed that the influence of his uncle William Bell led Peto to pursue art. In the year of 1877, John F. Peto enrolled at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. While there, he befriended William Harnett. Harnett may also have played a role in influencing Peto's style, as he was known for his trompe-l'oeil still life paintings, a form that Peto himself favored. Despite only attending the Pennsylvania Academy for a year, Peto continued to submit pieces to the Academy's exhibition for many years to come. Old Companions was painted in 1904. The composition of the piece is oil on canvas. Like many of Peto's paintings, Companions is a depiction of everyday objects. His paintings are neither overly stylized nor photographic in nature. In fact, his works are a unique fusion of the two principles. In the painting, the eye is immediately drawn to the bright hue of the bookshelf, the teal coloring of which stands in stark contrast to the earth tones that dominate the rest of the piece. The shelf is hopelessly filled with clutter and appears to hang crooked on the wall, contributing to the overall haphazard atmosphere of the piece. A second splash of color draws the eye to the torn notebook paper dangling from the shelf, and a third directs attention to what might be a paint can half buried beneath the shelf's clutter. The shading in the painting gives the appearance that the scene is occurring in the early evening when the sun is just about to set. Judging by the angles of the shadows, it would seem that the shelf is near a window that allows the last rays of the sun to reach its messy contents. The shading in the painting gives the appearance that the scene is occurring in the early evening when the sun is just about to set. Judging by the angles of the shadows, it would seem that the shelf is near a window that allows the last rays of sun to reach its messy contents. This shading also gives the piece a sense of depth, making it appear almost three-dimensional. The description of the painting on the Crystal Bridges Museum website claims that Peto's images often have a melancholy quality, and the objects depicted here are worn from heavy use or in disrepair. The candlestick and several of the books, including one of whose cover hangs from a single binding thread, are all placed precariously, as if to suggest the impermanence of life and human creation. Clearly, there is far more to Companions than initially meets the eye. It is far from an uncommon practice for artists to include a sort of hidden meaning behind their works, and Peto has continued this tradition with his paintings. Peto is partial to the representational or figurative art form. This is directly reflected in his use of the trompe-l'oeil style, which is the French term used to describe illusionistic works, or subjects of representational pictures of sculptures that are so convincingly portrayed that they may be mistaken for the real thing. This can easily be seen in Companions, where the subject of the painting is so realistic that the shelf depicted might actually be mistaken for a real-life photograph. This is a direct result of the realism discipline, or perhaps illusionistic realism. According to the Peto Museum website, John F. Peto's early work was greatly influenced by the tradition of still life painting established in Philadelphia at the beginning of the 19th century, as well as by the early work of his friend and colleague, William M. Harnett. As aforementioned, most of his works were of everyday objects, which the website contributes to Victorian sensibilities. An interesting note about Peto's work is that many of his pieces are unsigned and undated. Even so, it is still possible to create a timeline of sorts with these pieces by grouping them via subject. Old Companions is among these ambiguous works. I chose this piece because I was drawn to its unique subject. The cluttered bookshelf immediately made me think of a scatterbrained writer, especially with the tattered notebook and quill sitting alongside equally worn books. I felt the painting was one that I would not mind hanging above my own workspace. I was especially drawn to the detailed shading of the piece, as I feel like it brings a sense of time into the artwork. Crystal Bridges is just over a half-hour drive from the University of Arkansas. I originally discovered Old Companions by browsing the museum's website, which contains a list of works found on display at the exhibit. Companions is one of 3 artworks on display by Peto at Crystal Bridges.